Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. Well, this is a little different view for you than you're used to seeing. This is the first time I've done a video with my 1914 board. And it's Monday morning, just finished playing a whole weekend with one of my subscribers, Rich Jurstad, who took the train to Prince George. He lives about 500 miles west of here on the Pacific coast, the west coast. Um, we refer to it as the North Coast here in a place called Prince Rupert. So it was Prince Rupert versus Prince George this weekend, and we had a lot of fun. In 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we played about 24 hours. 17 hours of Global 40, and I think about 7 hours of 1914 yesterday. We were going to play 2 games of Global 40 this weekend, but we realized after the first game there that there's just no way we could get that second game in on just Sunday alone, especially after playing for 2 solid days to begin with. Anyway, I was going to make a video about this 1914 game because I haven't made one before, and I said I was going to last winter, but I never got back to it because I think the game is broken. It's a fun game to play as long as you're the allies. Here, let me show you what's going on here. We'll just walk around as I talk. Yeah, so it's a fun game to play if you're the allies, and you see this is one of the where the allies can, or the British can put stuff on as India. Um, I'll just give you a slow look here at what's going on in the game. This is what's left. The game ended near the end of the 5th round. I did put my stuff on. It was after the British turn in the 5th round that the Central Powers surrendered. So I did put my stuff on that I had already purchased for the Italians and for the Americans over there. So the Americans have only been in the war for, well, not even 2 turns, but they put 2 turns worth of stuff on. Anyway, there's just I can't see any way whatsoever that the Central Powers can win this game, and that's why I stopped playing it. But Rich has played with his friends for a lot of games. He said they must have played probably around 40 games, and he said the Central Powers win most of the games. But anyway, so I said, well, let's play this game on Sunday, and you be the Central Powers, because he said he's seen the Central Powers win a couple of games, and I can't even fathom how the Central Powers could win this game. So he was the Central Powers, and I was the Allies in the game, and we here, let me set this down, and we played, and it just the game went even worse than normal because Rich tried to do something here. Let me just show you. He knows how hard it is for the Central Powers to win too. So what he did in this game, and I'm not going to explain the whole game to you. If you're watching this video, then you've probably played 1914 before. So he instead of just building ground troops, he built a navy here, and then he went and he tried to exploit the flank over here for the Russians. You probably noticed there's a Zeppelin there. I guess I should have mentioned that. I have 2 Zeppelins for the game, and just to try to balance it out, and even doing that, I couldn't balance the game out. That's why I gave up months ago. But the Zeppelins have added some more fun to the game. But anyway, Rich was making landings over here constantly, and it was just easy enough for the Russians to repel it. Plus, when you're landing in a mine zone here, see, all I had to do was make sure that I had this every turn, and then I had control over the harbor here, which has mines in it, and where's the mine? Yeah, see, here's the mine here. So every once in a while you're going to nail a transport that's fully loaded. So you're killing troops easy there. Plus the Germans are spending money on boats, which they can't afford to do. And that would be great. If you could do that, that would be great. If you could keep doing the rest of the stuff. But you look over here though, I mean, the Germans have the Russians have no problems whatsoever with the Germans over here. The Germans have Poland, which they're about to lose. They've only got one unit down here in Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary is actually doing better than they normally do in this game for me. But as you can see, they're almost out of the game. And the Germans here, like it was just a steady march for here's Paris back here. It was just a steady march for the French. And look at where they are after only the fifth turn. They're right on the doorstep of Germany, like or Berlin. Berlin is about to fall there. But that's what happens when you take your units and you put them over there, is that you've got no units left to fight, or very few units left to fight in the Western Front over here against the French, and the Eastern Front against Russia. They were doing better, but eventually the Allies just wore them down over here. So Germany, I applaud Rich for trying something new. He said he wanted to see if that would work, and clearly that wouldn't. Him and I were talking about it on the way to the train station this morning. I just got back from driving him to the train station. He's going to make the trip home. Perhaps the only thing he could have done, if you were going to go with the Navy route like that, if you were going to spend money on ships, the only different thing he could have done was to continue to attack London. Because as the British player, all you have to do is just put enough units on there. And you see there's a bunch of Navy here. I just bought this in the last 2 turns, these boats. I didn't have any boats up here. I didn't need any. All I needed to do was just place enough units on London so that his transports there wouldn't make a U-turn and come over here and make a landing and take me out in London and take my money. All you need to do is just put enough money there, or put enough units there that you can't do it. And then everything else, just about everything you buy in the entire game, goes down in Calcutta. Or yeah, well, I guess it's Bombay on this one. Look at that, it's Bombay. So you put all your units here, and then what is funny, but you know, like the Ottomans actually lasted better than they usually do down here. So you start with a few units here in Persia. It took me 3 turns to take Persia over. I actually had the Ottomans in economic collapse by the time I took Persia, because I had boats down here, like you see the boats over here, and I've taken the rest of the boats up there to the UK. But I was going around Persia and going into Persia at the same time, rather than just stalking everybody on Persia. But I had these guys in economic collapse before I even had Persia. But once the floodgates opened there, I mean, these guys were only able to buy twice. The Ottomans, they were only able to purchase units twice. Not a big fan. Rich really wasn't a big fan of the economic and political collapse rules. To me, and well, it's obvious that you're just going to lose even faster as the Central Powers, with the movement being what it is, where you can move 2 spaces instead of 1, and where you have the economic and political collapse rules. Because what few units you had left on the board when you're in political collapse, those units disappear, and there you go. Like Britain just takes over easily. Britain just took this turn, even although the Italians actually took Constantinople a couple of turns ago, because they were in economic collapse and they couldn't place any units, and so the Italians brought their boats down, and so they actually had 31 IPCs. And if you ever played this game, you'll know that it's not usual for the Italians to have 31 IPCs. But anyway, they came down and got the money once, and then Germany just came, or sorry, the UK just came down and got the money this time. But that's all you do. You just pile all your units on Bombay over here, and you just make a steady flow up here, and you take out the Ottomans, and then you can see, like, you can go 2 spaces with with tournament rules. So you go 1, 2, you place your units here, and then 1, 2, that's where they are there now. I didn't need them anymore. Like I had enough units over here to take them out. I haven't put any units. You can see there's none in here in this space here. I had enough to take them out. So I was just moving them up there. And so now that's why he surrendered. There was nothing he could have done at this point, right? Like these units are just going to keep coming up here. I've got these ones here that are coming across on the boat, and they're going after them. And the French and the Italians are going after the Austrians as well, and then of course the British are diverting and they're going after the Germans. And now they've built a navy, and the two navies, American and the British Navy, are making landings in France every single turn. And like I could have wiped every single unit off the board in 2 turns when you're using the political collapse rule. Um, like Germany and Austria would have been in economic collapse this turn, and then they would have been in political collapse the turn after that if I didn't take them out this turn. Like I might even have been able to take out Berlin this turn, and probably not Austria, but yeah, I don't think I could have taken Austria this turn, but I certainly could have might have been able to take Berlin this turn. I would have been able to assault them. And down here in Africa, it's only a matter of time before all the German units disappear, because there's more units down here for, like, you've got France and Britain, and there's not very many units to begin with down here. So it does take a while, but eventually all the German units disappear. The Med is completely controlled by the Allied powers, so that's never going to be in doubt. And the Germans will control that until the Americans are in the war, probably. They will control the Atlantic, but that doesn't matter. What really matters in this game, in World War One, it was a ground war, and more so even than the regular Axis and Allies, the World War II versions. That the ground war is most important in that too, but the navies really don't play much of a part. Mostly they play a part in the Mediterranean there, where you can with the Allies, you can raid, like you can come down here and you could be nailing Austria, or putting troops down here south of Austria like the British have just done, so you don't have to go in there and take on this mine, or have a chance at getting hit by that mine. Usually what I try to do though with the Russians, some people might like to turtle with the Russians. That's not what I do. I put pressure on down here, and I put pressure on this space right here, because that's going to take the pressure off the Italians. See, the Italians could be put into economic collapse easily too, just like the Ottomans, by the Austrians. However, you can see there's a path over there from France, so I make sure I bring French units in there right away, and then I bring Russian units up from this direction right away, and that makes the Austrians have to come down here and defend themselves. And with the French helping up there, you can keep the Italians from going into economic collapse. So you can keep the Italians in the game, whereas there is just nobody down here. The Austrians, they're not going to be able to make their way down here to save the Ottomans, not at the expense of having the Russians come in, just rush right in there. So you put pressure on this space here as the Russians, and you put pressure on this, you come down here and you put pressure down on the south. And there you go. Like if you can contest this territory and this territory, that's going to limit the amount of money that the Austrians get, and then they can't wage an effective war over there against Italy and France. They'll get in there, but they in this game they never got past Tuscany. They didn't even get this space because France kept putting stuff in there, but they never got past Tuscany. And oops, sorry about that. And with the Germans trying something new, with them not putting a lot of ground units into Europe, that just made it so that France had an easy time over here too. With the Germans putting lots of pressure on the Western front here, then the French can't come in here as much as they'd like to. Like they were able to storm in there, but normally it doesn't matter what happens. I put a couple of units in there. The Germans decided not to exploit Switzerland in this game. Switzerland, probably the silliest thing on the board, where you can just walk right through there, as if there was no mountains in there. You just walk through there like nothing. But that's fine. You got to give the Central Powers any break you can. But he decided not to do that, of course, because he didn't do a ground game. If he'd opened up Switzerland there, then I would have just walked right through it the way things went. But it was just a steady march towards Berlin, hardly any resistance, because of the fact that he didn't put ground troops on over there. He was going for this over here instead. So if you're ever thinking, well, maybe I'll take my boats over there, you can do that. You can take boats over here and land over here, but you can't keep doing that like he did. You're going to lose Europe over there if you do that. So and then when you raid it, well, it's pretty easy for the Russians to take it back. You're better off just trying to storm through Poland here than taking your boats over. But what I was thinking though, like if you did build a navy and you did want to try something different, maybe try going after London and putting pressure on London so that the British could not put every cent they have down here in Bombay, and perhaps the Ottomans can last longer. And if they can last longer, maybe they can put some pressure on India and maybe even on the southern flank of Russia down here. That might help. Although, you know, like I don't know. It's just such an overwhelmingly skewed game that I don't know that there's anything that you could do to save the Central Powers in this game. Not if you have a competent allied player. They don't have to be the best player in the world, but they, you know, as long as they know what they're doing and they understand the basic concept of pile stuff on India, I think that this is going to be a pretty easy game to win. And when the Americans enter the war, that's basically when the war ends. Like the Americans haven't even fired a shot yet. They made 2 landings so far, you know, because they enter the game in the 4th turn, and here's the guys from the 4th turn here, and here's the guys from the 5th turn here. So that's normally when they enter the game, they're back here. Like the fight it usually stays trench warfare around here till the Americans enter the war, and then they move up. But in this case, in this game, the French were able to move the line up before the Americans even got there. Anyway, that's what happened in this game. It was a pretty short game. He could have even surrendered 2 turns earlier. It was pretty obvious 2 turns ago. But you know, like we came here a long ways to play Axis and Allies, so we kept playing it out, and that's why you see so few units left on the board. Like that's all that Germany has right here. That's all they have left, and that's all the Austrians have on the board. Like I said, I could have wiped every troop off the board within 2 turns, and that would have been it. Every single unit would have been off the board. I guess the other thing I can mention, I haven't seen a video where this map has been on YouTube before, and many thanks to Imperious Leader. He likes to make maps and he likes to share them with the Axis and Allies online community. And this map here, the regular map that you get out of box is 32 by 32 inches. This is 42 by 42, and you can see here, let me just move back a bit. You can see the size of my table. I measured my table and I said that's all the space I needed. So that's 42 by 42. So if you're going to make a map like this, that's what I recommend is find out which table you have, and that's what you do. You can see he took out the counter, the goofy ass counter that they had in here, in the out of box one. I've got the World War I bucks from Historical Board Gaming. They're pretty nice. This is the first time I used them. I finally was able to break them out of the pack and use them because I haven't played the game since I got the bucks. But this is a beautiful map by Imperious Leader, and it doesn't cost as much, of course, to print this map out as it does to print out a global map, because the global map is so much bigger. But it is nice if you play this game a lot and you're looking at it, then you can see how much bigger the territories are, because it's an extra 10 by 10, right? So that's 100 square inches. So and with this game, it's kind of important. You can't see it here too much because of this game is so one-sided right now. But in a territory like that, you can get three different nations in there. And that was not built up very much. But when you got 2 or 3 nations over here in a smaller territory, space is at a premium. So a map like this is great to have because you got that extra space. But he did a really nice job. I like you look at the plane that's in there, and there's a boat over here in the water. I like the mines that he put in. and you can see the anchors. That's where boats go on, is where there's anchors. Plus, in the tournament rules, they make ships go one extra space. In the out of box rules, they don't. But when you play in tournament rules, that's why I was saying, like, you can wipe them out even easier with the Americans there. You put your navy on. They're one turn they're in Europe, so you're doing a transport check which is two. Like it's one over here and one back, and one over here and one back. Like it's just there's just nothing you could do. They're just going to keep landing in there, using the tournament rules. And the tournament rules are better than the other rules. It's just I'm not a big fan of the economic and political collapse rules. I think what you need to do is if you wanted to make the Central Powers um, have a chance in this game, I think what you need to do is to add some units to the game. And what I've tried before is giving the Germans two of those Zeppelins over there, and then giving the Central Powers a fighter, and giving the Ottomans a fighter, and even then they couldn't win. So what I think you need to do is you need to also give them some ground units, because ground units is really how this game is fought. The air power there, they just help the ground units fight, but you need some ground units. For each of them, you need to add to the stacks of each of them to challenge in this game. Because once the Americans get in the war, if it's tied when the Americans get in, or if the Central Powers were even just winning slightly when the Americans get in, then it's over. It's only a matter of time before America gets enough troops on. They're going to be dumping probably 6 units on every turn onto Europe over there, and it's over. There's nothing they can do about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed looking at this beautiful map. It might be the first chance you've ever had to see a map like this. I probably should have mentioned it earlier in the video. You're probably wondering what you were looking at to begin with. But yeah, it's a beautiful map. And it's too bad this game sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck in that it's no fun to play. Like, it is fun to play. It's predictable. That's all. There's a problem in that this game is predictable, and it's too bad because I love the map that I got here, and the pieces, the sculpts are really nice. Everything's great. It's just something needs to be done to make this game a little more fair. Anyway, I can't think of anything more to say here than what I've already said. Except I just want to thank Rich again, Rich Jerstad from Prince Rupert. Thank him for making the long trip here to Prince George to play this weekend. If any of you are out there, any of my subscribers, and you want to come here to the War Room, I've got this game. I've got Global 40, which I'd rather play, unless you want to play the Central Powers. And I've got America. So anybody that ever wants to come to Prince George, I got a place for you to sleep here, and we'll game down all weekend long. But thanks to him for making the trip, and I really appreciate him coming here, and I really appreciate being able to make a new friend like that. So I hope you have a safe trip back, Rich, and thank you everyone for watching my video, and take care. General Hand Grenade out.